Live like God has already answered. The secret to manifesting. Live your life with the quiet certainty that what you prayed for is already done. This is the highest form of faith, not hoping, not wishing, but knowing. When you live like God has already answered, you stop living in desperation and start living in expectation. You no longer beg the universe for signs. Instead, you move with calm confidence, trusting the unseen more than the visible. Your energy shifts from lack to assurance, from fear to peace. You begin to act, speak, and think as someone who is already blessed, and this inner state becomes the bridge between prayer and fulfillment. Faith is not proven by words but by behavior. When you truly believe the answer is already given, your actions naturally align with that belief. You stop chasing validation, forcing outcomes, or worrying about delays. You become patient without being passive, calm without being careless. Gratitude replaces anxiety because you understand that worrying after praying is doubting the same power you asked for help. Saying thank you before the miracle appears is a declaration that you trust divine timing completely. Gratitude confirms faith, and faith accelerates manifestation. Living as if the answer is already yours also means letting go of control. You release the need to know how it will happen or when it will arrive. You understand that divine intelligence sees paths you cannot see. The moment you surrender the timeline, peace enters your heart. Detachment does not mean giving up. It means trusting so deeply that you stop interfering. When you let go of urgency, resistance dissolves and things begin to move effortlessly in your favor. Most importantly, you become the version of yourself who has already received. You ask yourself how that person thinks, how they walk, how they treat others, and how they treat themselves. Then you embody that version now. Manifestation is not about attracting something outside of you. It is about aligning with who you must become. When your inner world changes, the outer world has no choice but to follow. Live as though the prayer is already answered, because in truth, the moment you believed, it was. Faith is acting before seeing. Faith is not something you switch on only when life feels comfortable. True faith begins exactly where logic ends. It is the inner decision to trust even when there is no visible evidence, no confirmation, and no guarantee in the physical world. Acting before seeing is the purest expression of belief. It means you no longer wait for circumstances to change before you feel confident, grateful, or peaceful. Instead, you allow your inner conviction to lead, knowing that what is unseen today is already arranged in the unseen realm. Most people say they have faith, but their actions reveal fear. They pray for abundance yet live in constant worry. They ask for love yet expect disappointment. They desire success yet prepare for failure. This contradiction blocks manifestation. Faith is not what you say during prayer, it is how you live after the prayer. When you truly believe God has already answered, your behavior changes naturally. You stop panicking. You stop explaining yourself. You stop seeking reassurance from people who cannot give you certainty. Faith shows up as calmness, patience, and silent confidence. Acting before seeing does not mean pretending or forcing positivity. It means trusting the process so deeply that doubt no longer controls your decisions. You still feel emotions, but they no longer dominate you. You may not know how everything will work out, but you move forward anyway. This is where most people fail, not because they lack desire, but because they lack trust. They want proof before commitment, results before belief. Faith reverses that order. Belief comes first, action follows. Results come last. When you act as if the answer is already secured, you send a powerful signal to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious does not respond to words, it responds to behavior. Every action taken from faith reinforces the assumption that success is inevitable. This is why confident people attract opportunities effortlessly. It is not arrogance, it is alignment. Their inner state matches the outcome they expect, so life rearranges itself to confirm that expectation. Faith also removes desperation, and desperation is one of the greatest blocks to manifestation. When you need something too badly, you are subconsciously declaring that you do not have it. Faith, on the other hand, is relaxed. It does not rush. It does not chase. It knows that what belongs to you cannot pass you by. Acting before seeing creates this relaxed certainty. You continue doing your part without emotional pressure, trusting that divine timing is always precise. There is a spiritual law at work here. You cannot receive what you do not feel ready to receive. Acting before seeing prepares you internally for what is coming. If you want success, you start thinking like a successful person. If you want peace, you stop feeding chaos. If you want abundance, you stop making decisions from scarcity. This internal preparation is not waiting, it is becoming. And once you become, receiving becomes natural. Faith also teaches you patience without frustration. Waiting is no longer painful when you trust the outcome. Delays stop feeling like rejection and start feeling like preparation. You understand that sometimes things are not late, you are just early. Acting before seeing means you respect divine timing instead of fighting it. You keep moving forward with dignity, knowing that every step is guided even if you cannot see the destination yet. One of the most powerful shifts that comes from acting before seeing is emotional stability. When your faith is strong, external circumstances lose their power over your mood. You stop riding emotional roller coasters based on temporary situations. Peace becomes your default state. This peace is not weakness, it is strength rooted in trust. It is the confidence that even if today looks uncertain, tomorrow is already handled. Faith also sharpens intuition. When you trust more, you listen more. You begin to notice subtle guidance, ideas, impulses, inner nudges that guide you toward the right actions. These inspired actions feel effortless because they are not forced by fear. Acting before seeing does not mean doing more. It means doing what feels aligned, and aligned action always produces results. Many people misunderstand faith and think it means doing nothing. True faith is active, not passive. You still show up, you still work, you still prepare. The difference is your mindset. You no longer act to make things happen, you act knowing things are already in motion. This removes resistance. Life flows toward you instead of you pushing against it. Acting before seeing also requires releasing the need for validation. When you trust God, you do not need people to understand your journey. You move quietly. You protect your vision. You stop explaining plans to those who only see limitations. Faith grows in silence. The more you protect your belief, the stronger it becomes. At its core, faith is surrender. Not surrender to weakness, but surrender to a higher intelligence. It is acknowledging that you do not need to control every detail for things to work out. Acting before seeing is saying, I trust the outcome even if I don't understand the process. This surrender creates space for miracles because resistance dissolves when control is released. When you look back at your life, you will realize that the best things often came when you stopped forcing and started trusting. Faith is not blind optimism, it is experienced wisdom. It is knowing that everything you truly needed found you at the right time. Acting before seeing is simply choosing to trust that truth again before the evidence appears. Ultimately, faith is an identity. You are either someone who trusts life or someone who fears it. When you choose faith, you choose peace over panic, trust over tension, and certainty over confusion. You live like God has already answered, not because you are careless, but because you are confident. And when you live from that state, manifestation is no longer a struggle. It becomes a natural outcome of who you are. This is the secret. The moment you act as if it is already done, you align with the version of yourself who receives. Faith is not waiting for miracles. Faith is becoming the person who expects them. Gratitude confirms the answer is done. Gratitude is not just a polite habit or a spiritual trend, it is a powerful state of being that signals deep trust in life and in God. When you practice gratitude before your desire appears, you are declaring something bold. I believe the answer is already complete. Gratitude is proof of faith in action. It is not dependent on circumstances, it exists beyond them. This is why gratitude has the power to shift realities. It places you mentally and emotionally in the position of someone who has already received. Most people wait for life to give them reasons to be grateful. They say, I'll be thankful when things improve. But manifestation works in the opposite direction. When you choose gratitude first, improvement follows. Gratitude is not the result of manifestation, it is the cause. The moment you genuinely feel thankful now, you step out of lack and into abundance. You stop affirming what is missing and start affirming what is already working behind the scenes. When you thank God before the evidence shows up, you are saying, I trust you completely. This level of trust dissolves anxiety. Worry cannot survive in a grateful heart because gratitude assumes everything is already handled. Anxiety comes from uncertainty. Gratitude comes from certainty. You cannot be thankful and fearful at the same time. One always cancels the other. This is why gratitude instantly raises your emotional and spiritual state. Gratitude also changes how your subconscious mind interprets reality. The subconscious does not analyze logic, it responds to emotional signals. When you feel grateful, Your subconscious assumes success is present. It then begins to align your thoughts, reactions, and decisions with that assumption. This alignment is what makes manifestation feel natural instead of forced. You are no longer trying to get something, you are expressing appreciation for something that already belongs to you. Many people unknowingly block their own manifestations by constantly complaining even after praying. Complaining after prayer is silent doubt. It suggests that you do not trust the power you asked for help. Gratitude corrects this contradiction. It keeps your faith consistent. When you choose gratitude, you stop sending mixed signals. Your inner world becomes clear, stable, and receptive. Gratitude also removes desperation, which is one of the biggest obstacles to manifesting. Desperation says, I need this to happen or I won't be okay. Gratitude says, I am already okay. When you feel whole now, you no longer repel what you want. Desperation pushes away, gratitude draws in. Life responds more quickly to calm confidence than to emotional pressure. Another powerful aspect of gratitude is that it anchors you in the present moment. Manifestation happens now, not in the future. When you are grateful, you stop mentally living in someday. You appreciate what is unfolding right now, even if you cannot yet see the full picture. This presence allows you to notice opportunities, ideas, and guidance that you would otherwise miss while worrying about outcomes. Gratitude also softens resistance. Resistance is created when you argue with reality, when you mentally fight what is happening. Gratitude does not mean you like everything that happens, it means you trust its purpose. This trust relaxes your nervous system and opens your mind. From this relaxed state, inspired action flows easily. You stop forcing solutions and start receiving them. Living in gratitude also reshapes your self-concept. When you are thankful, you naturally feel worthy. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is lacking and start seeing yourself as someone who is supported. This shift in identity is crucial because you do not manifest what you want, you manifest who you believe you are. Gratitude strengthens the belief that good things happen to you naturally. Gratitude trains your mind to look for evidence of support rather than proof of struggle. The more you focus on what is going right, the more your awareness expands. This is not ignoring problems, it is choosing where your attention lies. What you consistently focus on grows. Gratitude directs your focus toward abundance, and abundance responds by multiplying. One of the deepest forms of gratitude is thanking God for things that haven't happened yet. This may feel uncomfortable at first because the mind wants proof. But this discomfort is where faith is strengthened. Every time you say thank you without evidence, you weaken doubt and strengthen trust. Over time, this practice rewires your belief system. Faith becomes your default response instead of fear. Gratitude also teaches patience without frustration. When you are grateful, waiting does not feel empty. You understand that preparation is happening, even if you cannot see it. You stop asking, why hasn't it happened yet? And start trusting that the timing is serving you. Gratitude transforms waiting into quiet confidence. Another important truth is that gratitude keeps you emotionally available to receive. When you are stressed, tense, or bitter, you close yourself off. Gratitude opens you. It creates emotional space. And whatever you make space for enters. This is why grateful people often experience unexpected blessings. They are open, relaxed, and receptive. Gratitude also strengthens your connection to divine guidance. When you are thankful, you are listening instead of demanding. You become more intuitive, more aware, and more sensitive to subtle direction. You begin to notice small signs, helpful conversations, sudden ideas. These are not coincidences. They are responses to your state of openness and trust. It is important to understand that gratitude is not denial. You can acknowledge challenges while still being grateful. Gratitude says, I trust this moment even if I don't understand it. This mindset keeps you emotionally balanced. You stop swinging between hope and disappointment. You remain grounded, knowing that everything is unfolding in your favor. Over time, gratitude becomes more than a practice. It becomes your personality. You move through life with appreciation instead of expectation. Ironically, when you stop demanding outcomes, outcomes arrive faster. Life responds generously to those who trust it. In the end, gratitude is the signature of someone who knows the answer is already done. It is quiet confidence expressed through appreciation. When you live in gratitude, you stop asking life to prove itself to you. You live as though the proof is inevitable. And when you live like that, manifestation is no longer something you chase. It is something that meets you where you stand. Gratitude is not the reward at the end of the journey. It is the doorway that opens it. Alignment beats effort. Most people believe that the harder they try, the faster life will reward them. They push, struggle, overthink, and exhaust themselves, believing effort alone creates results. But true manifestation does not come from force, it comes from alignment. Alignment is when your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions are all moving in the same direction. When you are aligned, life flows. When you are misaligned, even the smallest task feels heavy. This is why alignment always beats effort. You can work endlessly from the wrong state and still feel stuck, or you can move gently from the right state and see doors open effortlessly. Effort driven by fear feels tense. It comes from the belief that if you do not control everything, something will go wrong. Alignment, on the other hand, comes from trust. When you live like God has already answered, your inner world relaxes. You stop reacting to life and start responding to it. This inner calm is not laziness, it is clarity. From clarity, the right actions appear naturally without force or confusion. Many people are busy but not aligned. They take action from anxiety, comparison, and pressure. They say yes to things they do not believe in. They chase opportunities that do not resonate with their values. This creates inner conflict. When your inner world is divided, your energy is scattered. No matter how hard you work, results feel inconsistent. Alignment removes this conflict. When you are aligned, every step feels meaningful because it matches who you truly are. Alignment begins internally. Before the outer world can shift, your inner state must match the reality you desire. If you want peace but constantly feed worry, you are misaligned. If you want abundance but think in terms of limitation, you are misaligned. Effort cannot override contradiction. Alignment corrects it. When your inner beliefs match your desired outcome, action becomes effective instead of exhausting. One of the clearest signs of alignment is emotional ease. This does not mean everything is perfect, but it means you are not fighting yourself. You feel grounded even during uncertainty. You stop needing constant reassurance. Your nervous system relaxes because it senses safety. From this state, creativity increases, intuition sharpens, and decisions become clearer. Alignment makes you receptive to guidance that effort alone cannot access. Aligned action feels different from forced action. Forced action feels rushed, heavy, and draining. Aligned action feels timely, natural, and energizing. You may still work hard, but it does not feel like struggle. You are no longer trying to prove your worth or outrun fear. You are simply expressing who you are. This is why aligned people often achieve more with less effort. Their energy is concentrated, not scattered. Alignment also means saying no to what drains you, even if it looks good on the surface. Not every opportunity is meant for you. When you live from alignment, you stop chasing everything and start choosing intentionally. You trust that what is meant for you will not require you to betray yourself. This trust saves energy and attracts experiences that match your true path. Another important aspect of alignment is timing. Effort ignores timing, alignment respects it. When you are aligned, you sense when to move and when to wait. You no longer force outcomes out of impatience. You understand that delayed action can sometimes be more powerful than immediate action. This patience is not fear, it is wisdom. Alignment teaches you that being in the right state at the right time matters more than constant motion. Alignment also dissolves resistance. Resistance is created when you try to make something happen that your inner world does not fully accept. You may say you want success, but if you secretly fear responsibility, resistance appears. Alignment brings awareness to these inner conflicts and gently resolves them. Once resistance is gone, manifestation accelerates without added effort. Living in alignment also improves relationships. When you are aligned, you communicate clearly and honestly. You stop performing for approval. You attract people who resonate with your energy instead of those who drain it. This emotional harmony creates supportive environments where growth happens naturally. Alignment deepens trust in divine intelligence. You stop feeling like everything depends on you. You understand that your role is not to control outcomes, but to stay connected to your inner truth. From this connection, inspired ideas arise. These ideas feel simple but powerful because they are guided. Acting on inspiration is far more effective than acting on pressure. Many people misunderstand alignment and think it means doing nothing. In reality, alignment often leads to bold action. The difference is the motivation. Aligned action comes from clarity, not panic. You move decisively because you feel ready, not because you are afraid of missing out. This readiness makes your actions impactful. When you are aligned, setbacks do not break you. You see them as feedback, not failure. You adjust without self-blame. This emotional resilience keeps you moving forward steadily. Effort without alignment collapses under pressure. Alignment sustains momentum even during challenges. Another powerful effect of alignment is self-respect. When you honor your inner state, you stop tolerating what diminishes you. You raise your standards naturally. Life responds to this self-respect by offering better opportunities, better treatment, and better outcomes. Alignment teaches you that you do not have to fight for what matches you, it finds you. Alignment also strengthens faith. When your inner and outer worlds match, doubt loses its grip. You feel supported even when the path is unclear. This support allows you to take risks without fear. Faith becomes practical, not theoretical. You trust life because you feel connected to it. Ultimately, alignment is the state of living like the answer is already given. You stop forcing the future and start embodying it. Effort fades because clarity takes over. You are no longer trying to become something, you are expressing something that already exists within you. This is why alignment beats effort every time. Effort comes from trying to fix the outside. Alignment comes from tuning the inside. When the inside is right, the outside rearranges itself effortlessly. You were never meant to struggle endlessly. You were meant to align and allow life to respond. Let go of how and when. One of the greatest obstacles to manifestation is the need to control every detail. People often trust God with the desire but not with the process. They pray, affirm, visualize, and then immediately start worrying about how it will happen and when it will arrive. This constant mental interference weakens faith. Letting go of how and when is not a loss of control. It is the highest form of trust. It is the moment you move from anxiety into peace, from effort into allowance. The human mind is conditioned to seek certainty. It wants timelines, plans, and guarantees. But manifestation does not respond to pressure, it responds to trust. When you try to figure out how something will happen, you limit the infinite ways it could unfold. When you fixate on when it must happen, you create impatience. Both of these come from fear, not faith. Letting go means acknowledging that divine intelligence sees paths you cannot see and timing you cannot predict. Many people unknowingly delay their manifestations by constantly checking for results. They look for signs, refresh circumstances, and mentally measure progress every day. This habit keeps them emotionally attached to the outcome. Attachment creates tension, and tension blocks flow. Letting go does not mean you stop caring, it means you stop squeezing life for answers. When you release the grip, movement begins. Trusting the process requires emotional maturity. It means staying calm even when nothing seems to be happening. It means not panicking during silence. Silence is often preparation, not absence. When you let go of how and when, you stop misinterpreting delays as rejection. You understand that what is meant for you is being arranged in ways you may not yet recognize. Letting go also heals overthinking. Overthinking is the mind's attempt to protect you by predicting every possible outcome. But in doing so, it creates stress and confusion. Trust quiets the mind. When you let go, mental noise fades and clarity emerges. You become more present, more grounded, and more receptive to guidance. One of the most liberating realizations is that you do not need to understand the process for it to work. Many of the best things in life come through unexpected routes. If you insist on a specific method, you may miss a better one. Letting go opens you to surprise, and surprise is often how miracles enter. Detachment is often misunderstood. People think letting go means giving up or lowering expectations. In reality, it means holding your desire with confidence rather than desperation. You still believe, you just stop forcing. Detachment is knowing that your happiness is not dependent on a single outcome. This emotional independence actually attracts what you want faster. When you release control over timing, patience becomes natural. You stop rushing life. You stop comparing your journey to others. You understand that everyone has a unique rhythm. Divine timing is not slow, it is precise. What feels late to the ego is often perfect for the soul. Letting go of when aligns you with this precision. Letting go also strengthens faith in yourself. When you stop obsessing over outcomes, you realize you are capable of handling whatever unfolds. You trust your ability to respond rather than your ability to predict. This inner confidence reduces fear and increases resilience. You stop trying to manage life and start living it. Another powerful effect of letting go is emotional peace. You stop swinging between hope and disappointment. You remain stable regardless of external changes. This stability is magnetic. Life responds favorably to calm energy. When you are peaceful, opportunities approach you gently instead of dramatically. Letting go does not mean inactivity. You still take action, but the action is inspired, not forced. You act when it feels right, not when fear pushes you. This inspired action is often small but impactful. Because it comes from clarity, it produces results without exhaustion. When you trust timing, setbacks lose their emotional charge. You no longer see obstacles as signs to quit. You see them as adjustments. This perspective keeps you moving forward without bitterness. Letting go teaches you to cooperate with life instead of fighting it. Letting go of how also deepens humility. You accept that you do not have all the answers, and that is okay. This humility opens the door to learning, growth, and divine guidance. When you release ego-driven control, wisdom enters. Many people pray for peace but hold on to control. Peace cannot coexist with micromanagement. Letting go is the doorway to peace. It is the decision to trust more than you worry. This decision changes everything. Over time, letting go becomes a habit. You stop stressing over small details. You stop reacting to every delay. You become emotionally lighter. Life feels less heavy because you are no longer carrying the burden of control. Letting go also strengthens your connection to the present moment. When you are not fixated on the future, you notice beauty, opportunities, and support around you now. This presence enhances joy and creativity. You realize that fulfillment is not postponed, it is available now. In the end, letting go of how and when is an act of deep faith. It is living as though the answer is already arranged. You stop asking life to hurry. You stop doubting its intelligence. You trust the unfolding. When you let go, you do not lose anything. You gain peace, clarity, and alignment. And from that state, manifestation becomes effortless, not because you forced it, but because you finally allowed it. Become the version who has received. Manifestation does not begin with asking, it begins with being. The greatest secret to living like God has already answered is understanding that you do not attract what you want, you attract who you are. Becoming the version who has already received is not about pretending or fantasizing, it is about internal transformation. It is the decision to shift your identity before the world gives you permission to do so. When your self-concept changes, reality has no choice but to follow. Most people wait for circumstances to change before they change. They say, once I have success, I'll feel confident, or when love arrives, I'll feel worthy. This mindset keeps them stuck because it reverses the natural order of manifestation. The version of you who has already received does not wait for proof. That version embodies confidence, peace, and gratitude now. And when you step into that state, life begins to reflect it back to you. Becoming the version who has received starts with awareness. You must observe how you currently think, speak, and react. Your daily habits reveal your self-concept. If you constantly worry, complain, or doubt, you are identifying as someone who is still waiting. Awareness is not self-judgment, it is self-honesty. Once you see the gap between who you are and who you want to be, you can begin to bridge it consciously. The identity of someone who has received is calm, not rushed. They do not constantly check for results or seek validation. They trust the process because they trust themselves. This inner calm is powerful. It signals safety to the nervous system and clarity to the mind. From this state, decisions become easier and reactions become more balanced. Peace is not the reward at the end, it is the foundation. One of the most important shifts in becoming this version is changing your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself determines how you experience life. The version who has received does not speak from fear or limitation. They speak with assurance, patience, and kindness. This does not mean ignoring challenges. It means responding to them with confidence rather than panic. Inner dialogue shapes outer experience. Becoming the version who has received also means letting go of old stories. Many people carry identities formed by past failures, disappointments, or conditioning. They unconsciously relive these stories daily. To manifest something new, you must stop reimaging the past. This does not mean denying it, it means no longer letting it define you. The version who has received is forward, focused, and present-centered. Your habits also reflect your identity. Small daily actions either reinforce the old self or support the new one. How you spend your time, what you consume mentally, and how you treat your body all send signals to your subconscious. You do not need to change everything at once. Even one aligned habit can begin to shift your self-concept. Consistency matters more than intensity. Another key element of becoming this version is emotional regulation. The version who has received does not allow temporary emotions to dictate long-term beliefs. They feel emotions without becoming them. This emotional maturity creates stability. When you are emotionally stable, you stop reacting impulsively and start responding wisely. Stability attracts stability. Becoming the version who has received also means raising your standards, not from ego, but from self-respect. You stop accepting what drains you. You stop settling for less than what aligns with your values. This self-respect sends a clear message to life: I know who I am. Life responds accordingly. Visualization can support this identity shift, but it must be embodied, not imagined passively. Instead of picturing outcomes, focus on feeling like the person who already lives in that reality. How do they carry themselves? How do they handle challenges? How do they treat others? When you practice embodying these qualities, manifestation becomes a byproduct, not the goal. The version who has received also trusts silence. They do not feel the need to announce plans or seek constant feedback. They move quietly, grounded in inner certainty. This silence protects belief. Energy grows where attention is focused. When you stop explaining, you start embodying. Becoming this version requires patience with yourself. Identity shifts do not happen overnight. There will be moments when old patterns resurface. This is not failure, it is part of integration. The key is gentleness. Harsh self-criticism reinforces the old identity. Compassion supports transformation. As you embody the version who has received, you will notice subtle changes in your environment. People respond differently. Opportunities appear unexpectedly. Challenges feel less overwhelming. These are signs of alignment, not coincidence. Reality is adjusting to your inner state. This version of you also understands that worthiness is not earned, it is assumed. You stop trying to prove yourself to life. You allow yourself to receive without guilt. This openness is essential. Many people block blessings because they secretly feel undeserving. Becoming the version who has received dissolves this block. Over time, this identity becomes natural. You no longer need to try to feel confident or peaceful. It becomes your default. Manifestation stops being a technique and becomes a lifestyle. You live with quiet expectation rather than anxious hope. In the end, becoming the version who has received is the final step in living like God has already answered. You stop waiting for life to change you. You change first. And when you do, life mirrors that change effortlessly. This is the ultimate secret. You do not chase the answer. You become the answer.